Hello. Hello.
Welcome to it. You had your face on there and everything. You're famous.
I am. Am I famous? Really?
Yes. We're just gonna go with that. We're gonna state it, and we're gonna nod our heads, and we're just gonna own it. So that's my plan. Seriously, we made it 2 seconds in, and my bangs are already like doing.
I know they're already driving you crazy.
I told you it was gonna happen. I was like, we're gonna make it, but we didn't make it far.
And those things happen, and it's okay, and that's why we're not qualified, right?
Accurate. Because not qualified for bangs. I don't know what to do with it.
Right before this, and you're fixing your bangs, and yeah.
It's fine. Well, welcome to We Are Unqualified, which is kind of a add-on to the What Could Go Wrong concept family thing that we had happening. And it was supposed to be just a one-time thing. And then it became like a whole thing. And now I get to hang out with you and all kinds of fun people. So that's been really exciting. So
that started out with a family thing, right? Like you're not qualified to have kids or to be a parent, right? I mean, that's how it kind of started out.
I don't remember. Yeah. I don't know. No. Okay. So, I mean, we had a version of that conversation on Snark Squad. And then when I kind of announced that I was doing the coaching thing, Jenny and I were talking about how unqualified, I am to do that. Right. And then that was where it kind of started. And I just reached out to other people who were like, hey, we could have this conversation. And then I was going to do like a short mini series. And then I kept having people saying, when's the next Unqualified show? And I'm like, And so now here we are. So welcome to it. We already have some people hang out with us in the chat. Hey, Chris. Hey, Andrew. Hey, LinkedIn user who I can see over here is Nicole. What's up, Nicole? Thank you.
I do like candy corns. Let's just get that one out of the way right away. I love candy corns, and that's just plastic. Everyone's going to have to deal with that, especially watching.
I had this conversation yesterday with Chris, I think, in some other chat about sprinkles. Like, I don't want to eat sugar-coated plastic, okay? And that's a whole thing. And I feel the same about candy corn. Look, Chris agrees. Candy corn is awful. So I can't help you.
It's okay. I don't care. I mean, a lot of people. So here's the reason why I wore blue eyeshadow and blue lipstick today. It's because everyone tells me I shouldn't do it. So I'm like, screw it. I'm going to do it. Exactly. Don't tell me I can't do something, because I will.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So on that note, welcome, RobRoy, to Unqualified. We are Unqualified. I am wearing your shirts.
Thank you.
And it even has a patch, which Kevin didn't get, so I am more special than Kevin. We already knew that, but I feel like we should point that out again since we're here together. Thank you for the people that jump in the chat. Thank you for the weird people who lurk in the background and like don't communicate in any way. I mean, it's a little weird, but I'm so glad you're here. It's fine. And all the people hanging out on the replay. So will you tell us more about who you are and why you're here to talk about being unqualified?
So I'm RobRoy, and I have a company called RobRoy SW. And so I'll get this one out of the way first. SW stands for Siren, which is my drag name.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then Ren is WREN. I'm definitely a siren when I'm on stage. So that's where that comes from. And the reason I started designing clothes was because I was designing clothes for myself in my drag personality. And it just kind of started to fit. So I decided to move into this kind of creative endeavor. And I've been in the creative field all my life. I started making art when I was, 8 years old. And I went to school for fine art, and I got a degree from Pratt Institute in Brooklyn with a triple major, painting, printmaking, and architecture. So that's kind of creatively, that's where I came from. And the reason I'm not qualified to run this business is because I may be creative and I may be all those things, but I have no clue when it comes to running a business. I don't. And I know this for a fact because I've run a couple other businesses and I basically ran them into the ground because I don't know how to manage money. I'm too nice. I don't charge people enough. I forget to charge for things. I'll do a job and then I'll go back and I'll look at my invoices and go, this is when I was doing construction. I'm like, oh, damn it. I forgot to add in the whatever. There's $120. There's $250, that I didn't bill for that just like gone. So
yeah.
So that's why I'm not qualified, but I learned my lesson, and now I have a business partner who, Tim Peterson, who's awesome. And he's, when the company really takes off and I start actually making real money, then he'll be the one that deals with all that. And I can me and design clothes and wear clothes, and he can do all the other stuff. So
I like that. You do the fun things and then you just pass off like the essential but not really interesting things to the people who are good at those things.
Exactly, like designing websites, and which I, creatively, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll come up with the design, but I don't want to do all the back end stuff. I don't want to do all that. And sewing, as much as I like sewing, I don't really want to do it. Not production wise, anyway.
Yeah. So. Well, I can see that. Like, there are some things I like to do that I wouldn't want to do 275 times in a row.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a jumping jack. One is fine. 275 is not what I want. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Timothy Peterson works with you. Awesome. So yes. Are y'all talking about the same Timothy Peterson? That's fun.
Yeah, Timothy Peterson. He's I don't know. I mean, he's in my feed, and he made a comment on this post, so you would be able to see him. But he's been in the apparel industry forever, has worked for a lot of big companies, and really knows the ins and outs of supply chain and factories overseas and all that. Although the duality hoodie thing, I put that all together. I mean, it was a pain. It was a serious pain, like learning how to deal with overseas banking and getting through language barriers and trying to figure out like all the things that you don't want to have to know. I had to do, right? So
look at all these things that I've learned that I never wanted to know.
Yeah.
I have said that a lot.
Exactly.
Especially recently. It's like, wow, I know that. I never wanted to need to know that.
Yeah, totally. Like one of the things that I learned with hoodies is that, so the factory that I use is in Pakistan. And it's a young kid. He's only 24 years old, and he's trying to build his own business. So I really related to him. But I didn't realize that Pakistan is on like everyone that you do business with in Pakistan, you have to have them vetted out by the federal government. In as far as banking goes. So I tried to send him money for a deposit so that he could start making the hoodies. And, I didn't hear from him. And I heard from him. He's like, the money's not here. I don't understand. So I went to my bank and I asked him, and no one could answer me any questions. And finally, after a month of going back and forth, they're like, oh, well, the money's held up because of like these federal vetting things that have to happen. I'm like, why didn't anyone tell me this before so that I knew? Why did you wait a month before you told me? Like, so then I'm thinking, am I unqualified or is Wells Fargo unqualified? I mean, like,
I have so many questions. I think we're going to go with Wells Fargo and say Wells Fargo is unqualified.
Yeah.
and did not give you the correct information. So you are fully qualified and it's totally fine. But you got some support back in here for like Lindsay said, I miss or underprice all the time. Here we got that happens in the beginning, learning to price right. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a real thing. Like I do that too. I'll go in and say, if I'm bidding a project, right? For like right now in my coaching side, there's just packages and you pick one and push that one. But in the beginning, and if I'm bidding a project for like when I'm doing educational consulting, that might be a specialized project. It's just really hard because it's somewhere between this should probably be $40,000, but they're not going to pay me $40,000. So where can we fit somewhere in the middle where they're happy and I'm happy?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And you know, when I was doing art, when I was making art, it is always this weird fine line, because if you couldn't reach the bigger clientele, the people who could pay $10,000 or $15,000 for a piece of art, then you couldn't really charge that. Even if your career had led you to the point where you really were almost that valuable. And I got close to that point, but I could never really quite find the right clientele. So I had to keep my prices lower because of the clientele that I was working with. So yeah, I mean, sometimes you make decisions based on what you're doing as well.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And I think you brought up a really good point that I kind of want to dig into, because I have the same issue. And I think this is across the board. None of us can do all the things like trim bangs or buy a bobby pin. Like these are the things that I obviously cannot do with my life. Just, can I borrow your clip and I'll just push that back there. That's fine. Yeah. So I'm a creative, and I can do systems and processes, but I'm good at helping others strategize their systems and processes, right? And helping them build that and then handing it to them. I am good at building things and burning things down. I am no good at maintaining. So like that's not me. I will build it. I will burn it. I cannot maintain it. That is not my strong suit. I have way too much ADHD for that. It does not bring me joy. Like that's not what I want to do. So as I'm doing this thing that I'm doing now, I'd always been in schools. So it was I always had someone to kind of hold me accountable, right? If we needed to do our budget, it was due by a certain date every year to our accounting team. And, you know, we had to turn in our monthly reports, all of it around money. I hate numbers. Numbers do not bring me joy. But we had someone else saying, hey, Chelsea, we need this, we need this, we need this, we need this. And then I could reach out to my admin team and be like, hey, I'm supposed to be doing this, but I don't know how to do it. We'd all collaborate. Well, then all of that went away when COVID happened and I stopped directing. And then I was like, I'll do my own thing. That sounds fun. And then, you know, 6 months in, someone's like, you're doing this, 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 and this with your accounting, right? And I'm like, yeah. Yes, I am.
Yeah.
And, you know, I wasn't. So, but the thing was, like, I am absolutely unqualified to do not only what I'm doing, but then like the number side for all of the things that required to keep the boat above the water where it's supposed to be. So then I bring all of the qualified people into my circle. And I'm like, you know how to do that, right? Will you do that thing with me?
Yeah.
Really? And I think the ability to say, I don't know how to do that, or I don't do this well, or as you grow, the ability to say, this does not bring me joy. And then bringing in people that are able to do it well, better than you, or, you know, it brings them joy, is a underrated skill.
It totally is. And even just the ability to let it go and say, okay, I'm gonna let my ego go. And because that was my issue in construction. I was like, I can do it all. I can do everything. I'm not gonna hire anyone to help me. I just have to, you have to be able to let your ego go and say, nope, I'm not good at that. Or like you say, it doesn't bring me joy. I'm horrible at maintenance too. I would rather be creating and like coming up with prototypes and all that, and then passing it off to someone to manufacture it. Like, okay, you figure out how to make this work. I don't care. I don't care how hard it is. Just figure it out. I designed it. You do that other thing. That's what pattern makers are for.
Yeah. I showed you how to do the jumping jack. Now you do the 275 more because I don't want to do that.
Exactly.
But I think there's so many that are included in the ability to get to that point, right? Because one, you have to be able to. So, okay, imposter syndrome. Yes, is this something that you struggle with? Maybe.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Totally. Okay, I think everybody does. It's fine. But I think there's somewhere between you're trying to prove yourself to somebody, yourself or others, and saying, I got this, I can do this, I can do this. And at some point, you have to have the internal validation or confidence to be able to say to yourself, I am not the best at this, or, recognize your lack of ability to keep that up, no matter how many times you put it on your calendar. And then to say it out loud to someone else and say, I need help with this. And I think that is a level of awareness and like self-confidence in, I was going to say in yourself, but self-confidence in yourself is kind of redundant because that's fine. So it takes a level of awareness and self-confidence to be able to like state that and ask for help, because then, if you can't do that, then maybe I can't do that either. Or maybe I shouldn't be doing this either. Like, what actually can I do? I don't know. What are your thoughts around like what it takes for you to finally come out and say that?
It takes a lot of time, and I just want to answer LinkedIn user who I think is Nicole.
It's
Nicole. Yeah, absolutely. Architects do that to builders all the time. Yes, we all do that. Like, okay, I drew it. You can make it work. It works on paper.
You do it. We all have different strengths.
Exactly. So yes, for me, it took 52 years of failures, like an occasional success.
Growth opportunities of varying types.
Okay, there you go. I mean, I always use the metaphor of the Sisyphean journey up the hill.
Rolling the thing up the hill.
Yeah, rolling the stone, and then you get so close, and then it just rolls back down the hill, and there you go again. You're doing it again. So I mean, for me, I know that there will always be hurdles, but I would prefer that the hurdles now be a little bit more to do with a next step and scaling up, rather than still trying to like not do construction anymore, because I still have to do that to like complete the bills. But I'm getting better and better and better. Like, every month for the last 3 months, I've doubled my revenue.
Wow. That's awesome. Mini party.
Yeah, exactly. But that's hard because the more revenue I have, the more sales I have coming in, the more time I have.
More money, more problems. Is that what you're saying?
No, actually, no. That's not what I'm saying. No, because what happens is the more sales come in, the more time I have to spend on the sewing machines, which means the less time I have to go do construction. And right now, I actually get paid more doing construction than I do sewing.
Right? Like that transition out of one thing to the other, kind of balancing those types of things.
So I'm actually, even though my revenues are growing, I'm actually making less money because I'm doing something that isn't quite making me as much money. So it's a weird catch-22 that I'm in right now. So
Nicole called you a visionary. So just throw that in your headline.
Whatever. Maybe I will never call myself anything like that, because I just feel like it's self, it's just awful.
Well, that's fine. You don't have to say it. Nicole and I are calling you a visionary. Just run with it.
Okay. Thank you.
So you were talking kind of like, all right. So in relation to what you're saying, there's a book that I always keep right next to me because it's my favorite book ever. Unqualified or Untamed by Glennon Doyle. Have you read this?
Okay. Yeah.
There's a journal coming out in November. It's already on pre-order. Like, I don't work for Glennon Doyle, but if she's hiring and you're looking for me, like, here I am. So that's fine. But this book is amazing. Okay. And she talks about something in it. She talks about, like, we can do hard things and all of that type of concept. And in her book, she talks about leaving her marriage, and her coming out as a lesbian and then being with her partner, and her whole kind of journey in that. And what she was saying was, she was already doing hard things inside of her marriage. And it wasn't that coming out, doing all the things that she did made life easier. It was that she was finally doing the right hard things. And I think that's kind of a big, beautiful piece of all of this conversation is it's not that, like for me, it's not that going from being a director to being an educational consultant and now doing my transition into coaching is easier. It's not like every transition makes it easier. It's just that I'm a limited energy being, and I know that it's going to be hard. Everything's going to be hard differently, but I want to do the right hard things instead of just all the hard things. And I think that also speaks to like the reason you have Timothy Thomas.
Yeah, Timothy.
Okay, to work with you is so that you can focus on the right hard things, and then have other people help you with the other hard things. I don't know. What does that sound like to you? Does that sound about?
No, that sounds exactly. And Tim and I have been working on this since. So in January of 2020, I quit. I quit my construction job and I sold almost all my tools, and I found myself a part-time job working in a gallery, just doing sales, and that was going to allow me because I had 3 months of money saved up. And the part-time job, between the money I had saved and the part-time job, I would have had about 9 months when I could have just focused on the business. Well, then, of course, we all know what happened in April or March of 2020, right? So then I got laid off, or I got furloughed. And so then I was unemployed for 8 months.
Wow.
And, clearly my money ran out. I started going back doing small construction projects, like someone wanted a door and put in or whatever, just to supplement. And so that kind of helped me. But I started talking to Tim in January of 2020. We met on LinkedIn when I was starting to look for other work.
Yeah.
And we met at like a virtual water cooler. And we started talking and all this, and then we hit it off really well. And that's when I realized, like, I need help. Like, I can't do this by myself. I don't know how to make this work. And I'm going, it used to be that I would say, oh, no, it's not true. It's not that I don't know how to make it work. It's just that I don't have time. No, it's true. I don't know how to make it work.
Just own that.
And you have to be able to admit that. Like I said, put your ego aside and say, I don't know how to do it. It's okay.
Yeah, and I think it totally is. And I've had some of the same, conversations with myself, both with work and then with personal stuff that I've brought coaches in for like specific personal things that I was dealing with, and then with work stuff, because there were two things that were going on in my mind as I was making those decisions. Is one, I could learn all the things necessary to be a specialist in this thing that I needed help with, but why? What is more valuable? Paying someone who already has all the information to walk me through it, because I won't need this information twice, or learning it all on my own and then walking myself through it and making mistakes and all that. I had to kind of weigh that and say, it is way more valuable for me to bring someone in who already has these skills and just let them show me the way rather than learn it on my own. And then the other side of that, when I'm working with parents, especially when I was still teaching and directing, there was a conversation I was having a lot, especially with single moms, of just because you can function as mom and dad, doesn't mean you should or have to function as mom and dad, right? There's a role that these adults play in the lives of children in this type of family that it brings something to them, right? So just because you can do something doesn't mean you have to do something or should do something, or that it's because we are all energy beings. So those were like my two things that had to go into it is, because I'm very much like, I can learn that. I can totally do that. Yes, I will figure that out. But it's not always the answer. I mean, there are people who do this and are passionate about it, talking about like, accounting, numbers, divorce, things like that don't bring me joy. There are people who love working in those fields.
Yeah, exactly.
Go find them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's what, it's interesting because when I was in the trades, when I started talking about how I wanted to leave the trades, certain people would say to me, well, oh, you're disrespecting on us. I'm like, no, I'm not disrespecting on anyone. Like, I totally respect plumbers and electricians and carpenters, everybody. Yeah. Most of them love what they're doing. They really, really enjoy it. So let them do it. I don't want to do it. It has nothing to do with respect of the trade or anything. It's about me. I don't like getting my hands dirty.
Listen, I will build websites. So my brother and I have this conversation all the time. He is a techie nerd like guy, but he also loves to work with his hands. So over this past year and a half with quarantine, he bought a van and then he built out the inside to live in it. So he like did a conversion from just an empty van, and now it's like an entire tiny home, and it took them a year and a half, and he loves it, and he buys the pieces and paints it and puts it together, takes it apart, does it again. Oh my God, I hate it. Like just watching him do it is like, oh my God, like everything about what you're doing makes me hate now. Like I hate everything about it. And the fact that you might do it and then have to undo it, like that does not bring me joy. But I will sit at a computer for hours putting together and taking apart a website until it's very, very perfect in the very end. And he's like, why is that different? That's attention to detail. I'm like, what you're doing makes me want to die. Okay. And what I'm doing is lovely. And he's like, they're the same, and I'm like, no. So, I mean, there is a difference. Some people love things and other people hate those things.
Yeah, exactly. And you said the wrong thing by saying that you love doing websites, because now as soon as this is over, I'm going to send you a message saying, hey, but
we can make beautiful things.
Yeah, exactly. But I love working in my wood shop. Like I have a table saw, I have all those things. Like I love making little jewelry boxes and all that kind of stuff. It's not anything that I would want to sell, but I just like making it because it feels really good to work with your hands. And I don't mind sawdust. It doesn't bother me as long as I can wash it off later.
Well, and I think this is an interesting kind of line of conversation. So for a long time, for about 3 years, I had a cake business, and it was out of necessity. Like I needed money. I was also working as a director, but it was part-time and blah, blah, right? And it was like, I'll make cakes and sell them. And it was like, sure, yeah. And people were like, do you know how to make cakes? I'm like, no, but YouTube does. I mean, like totally YouTube does. So I just started YouTubing and figuring it out, and people started ordering cakes. And by the time I was done, I was selling cakes for $600, $700, $800+ a cake. And I ended up quitting because I can't live like that, because that's a cake and then it melts, or like something falls off, or like you have to deliver it and then it falls apart. Like, oh my God, I couldn't handle that type of stress. And this may be a shocker, but people who are willing to pay that much money for a cake can be a little like, you can imagine what they might be like.
Believe me, I had the biggest pain in the ass I had for art was someone who spent the largest amount of money, and I'm not going to say how much it was because it was a really big chunk of change, but they were the biggest pain in the ass ever. Like everything was a pain with them. Like the framing didn't work right the first time, and then the shippers, the people people who installed the piece, everything. They were complaining about everything. I'm like, are you kidding me? Don't complain to me about the shippers that you hired and the people who installed the piece that you hired. I told you I would come and do it.
Yes. Well,
So,
what's funny is like it was always the moms for the the 1-year-old's birthday party who was spending $600 on a 6-tier cake that they were crazy humans. But the time that I made a wedding, like a 5-tier wedding cake that I had to deliver to the top of the Chase building in Dallas, those humans were like the loveliest humans that ever existed.
Right.
But I did get in trouble for wearing jeans. So future reference, anybody who goes to the top of the Chase building in Dallas, even if you're just delivering a cake, don't wear jeans. They will yell at you. I don't know. I'm unqualified. See, it's been following me my whole life.
They didn't want you to wear jeans. They wanted you to wear like pants, like what do they want you wearing?
I don't know. They just, there was a dress code, I guess. And like, you couldn't wear jeans, was not on there. I was probably wearing jeans, and then the name of my company was Artistically Edible Cakes. And so I probably had an artistically edible shirt on. And I remember walking up and they were like, what are you wearing? I'm like, jeans and a t-shirt? I'm dropping off this cake and then I'm leaving. And it was too much.
Yeah, that's
too
weird.
Much, so.
That's weird. When I was I'm going to date myself right now. When in the late 80s, I was a bike messenger in New York. And I remember there were a couple offices that you couldn't, as a bike messenger, you were not allowed to go into the entryway of the offices. You would have to have the receptionist or the assistant or whoever would come out and meet you and sign off, because you weren't allowed in the office at all, because you're too much of a dirtbag or whatever if you're a bike messenger.
Dirtbag.
Yeah, well, I mean, granted, when you're a bike messenger, you do kind of look like a dirtbag. I mean, really, you're filthy all the time. So covered with bus exhaust and grime and all that. So.
Well, I mean, but you do the job that you're supposed to do, so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But so, like, back to the reason that I brought up the cake thing, which led us down this whole thing, was there was a cake that I made little fondant My Little Ponies, right? So I made they were probably about this big, but I made like 6 of them, and they were going to be thrown away when they're done. But it probably took me about 4 hours for each pony to make all the little details and put it together and put on the cake, whatever. And it just my brother couldn't wrap his head around. Like, you're willing to spend 4 hours making something that will be thrown away, but building a cabinet for a van house makes you want to die. I'm like, yes, that's accurate. Yes, what don't you understand?
Well, honestly, I have to say I'm not really sure that I understand that one, but that's okay. It's okay for me to not understand it. I'm happy to design something for someone that they're only going to wear once. As long as they pay me what I charge them, then okay, you want to wear it once? Fine, wear it once, and I don't care what you do with it after that. I've always been, even as an artist, like, as soon as the piece was sold, I could give a shit about it.
Right?
Whatever, you bought it, you put it on your wall, you didn't like it 2 months later, you threw it away. I don't care. It's out of my world.
Yeah, somebody at Goodwill later found a really beautiful painting, and now they have it on their wall.
Exactly.
So it doesn't matter because you got paid, and now 2 people get to enjoy your painting.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, if you were to do your day, where you're tell me about your Utopia day. Like, what would your utopian day be in your business? If you could drop away all the things that you hate and you were doing this full time, what would a day look like for you?
First of all, my day would look like me being able to sleep until 6 o'clock or so.
Yeah.
That would be awesome, to wake up at a normal time. And then coffee and check my, check my messages and whatever, then go to a space where I do my work rather than have
So
it
is your work in your home now?
Yeah, it's in my dining room. So go to a space where I do my work. Design, I would love to have like at least 5 dress forms so that I could be kind of playing with designs all the time.
Dress forms are like the mannequin-y thingies.
The mannequins, right? That you kind of build garments on them before, and then
yes, got it.
yeah. And then, but I like interactions. So I would like to have people there that I can interact with. Because talking is how I think. If I can't talk to people, then I can't process my thoughts that well. I get too trapped in my own head.
I'm very much that, like a collaborative brainstorm. Like I come up better with thoughts in a conversation than I do in like my own thinking time.
Exactly. So that would be kind of my best scenario, is just design all day, and then maybe fiddle around with the sewing machine a little bit. But for the most part, just tell other people what to do with the sewing machine, and just kind of look over that, and then sell the business, sell myself, because that's what people are buying. Like right now, it's a cult of personality, right? I mean, people are buying me. And that's every designer out there. People don't spend $8,000 on a dress by a complete unknown. But if it has Alexander McQueen's name on it, even though he's dead, people will spend $10,000, $12,000 on it. But no one's going to spend $12,000 on a dress that I designed, even if it's freaking amazing. I mean,
if I had $12,000, I would. Count me in.
I don't know. I have all these designs for really fun, cool dresses, but I've priced them out, and I can't make them for under like $200, $300. Because of the materials that I want to use, because I don't want to use cheap materials. And and I just got a commission for a pair of pants, and the fabric that the woman chose to do them in was really pricey. I mean, I had to charge her a lot of money because I was dropping almost $100 just on fabric. So, and complicated work. So, you have to charge for that. And I think that's what people don't understand, especially because, we have Amazon out there, and you can go on Amazon and buy something for $22, and, it's made completely crap, but people don't care, that they'd rather buy 10 things at $10, the same thing, than spend $100 on something that will last them twice as long as all 10 of those things.
Yes. And I think that's absolutely accurate. And have you seen, like, they even have really funny, like, entire meme channels of like the picture of the clothing item on Amazon, and then when they got it and they put it on, and it was like 10 sizes too small, or
and honestly, I've screwed up a couple. Like, I've screwed up a couple sizes, and mainly, it wasn't that I screwed up the sizes. It was that I screwed up that I shipped the wrong thing. Like, someone ordered a medium and I shipped them a small, or someone ordered them, this, and I shipped them the wrong thing. And that's just stupidity. That's just me not being qualified.
That's one of those things that you're going to hire out, right?
Right. Exactly. But I'm still trying to figure out how to make everything. Like, it's there are flaws, and I'll admit that. Like most of my stuff is still prototype, essentially.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And but I think that that's part of the coolness about it.
I
you know
agree.
people are liking being at the ground level, and to say,
Hmm.
to be able to say, I bought something in the very beginning, or I helped in the very beginning, or whatever. I think people like that. They like to invest in young people like yourself. Like, people should be coming to you for what you're doing, because you're just starting. It's the beginning, and they can be building you up,
Hmm.
rather than just giving more money to Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
You
And I
know,
love that too. And I think you're getting buy-in to your overall mission instead of just your product,
right?
which
Exactly.
is, really cool. Besides the cake thing, I've never been in like a product-based business. So, but that was a piece of it. But I think that's a huge thing. Like when people talk about building your brand and all those types of things, that's about the brand of you and who you are. I just threw my Play-Doh
Yeah.
on the floor. I play with Play-Doh while I'm talking. It's totally fine. It's fine. But
Yeah.
yeah, it smells
ADHD,
like
right?
lavender. So like, oh, it's amazing. But I actually pulled up a picture of this pony cake that I was telling you.
Oh,
Um,
awesome.
so that was those little ponies that took 27 years to
Right.
do, and why I would rather do that than build a cabinet. That's that's a thing. I don't know. They probably got thrown away, but it brought me joy, and it is what it is.
And bringing and getting joy out of things, that's amazing. And
Yeah.
I get joy out of helping people feel good
Hmm.
in their bodies. I've talked about this before with, I think that a lot of men out there want to change their wardrobe. And I'm not suggesting that a lot of men out there want to wear dresses, because not a
Yeah.
lot of men want to wear dresses. There are a few, but I think that a lot of men would love to wear lavender, or
Right.
would love
Right.
to
Yeah.
wear shiny shoes or
Yeah.
whatever, but they're
I
afraid
mean,
because,
I love wearing shiny shoes. So.
yeah, I mean, shiny shoes are awesome, right? But they're afraid because they think that it's going to make them look gay, or it's
Yeah.
going to make them look whatever. And I don't, that's what I'm trying to break down. Right, this
Hmm.
whole idea that because someone wears something that isn't quite like everyone else, that it signifies that they're different,
Right.
in than they really are.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know how to really explain it, like, um, because women don't seem to have this issue as much. Like,
Right.
yeah, I'll wear that. Yeah, I'll wear Carhartts, or I'll wear a skirt, or whatever. But the thing that bugs me is when I hear someone say, "Well, I'm not going to wear that because it's been too genderfied over the years." Like,
Mm.
clothing shouldn't be that. It's all just fabric,
Yeah. Oh
right?
yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. We had that conversation. Like, I mean, this was a conversation that we had in early education around colors, because there would be
yeah,
very much the boys would come in and say, "Ooh, pink is for girls," and the girls would be like, girls' colors are pink and purple, and boys' colors or whatever. And so
right,
our conversation was, a color is a color. Like, it's just a color. So it's
right,
okay if you like blue or if you like pink, or
yeah,
a color is a color. It doesn't belong to a specific person or type
right,
of person. Um, which was always an interesting conversation, to have. And I was very much, I guess, at the time, I don't know what you would call it now, but when I was growing up, people referred to me as a tomboy because I wore like cargo shorts and t-shirts and a backwards hat, and like
right,
I wasn't girly or whatever that
right,
looked like, or was what I was supposed to look like, I guess.
right.
And that was kind of labeled as this, one side of things. And now one day I'll be in heels and a tight dress and like rocking my earrings with my things. And the next day I'm wearing like Chucks and a backwards hat and, you know, a t-shirt or whatever. Like I love being able to just wear what I want to wear on the day that I want to wear it. Darn it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the way it should be for everyone. You know, we shouldn't be confined to any particular type of thing, and we shouldn't allow ourselves to be confined to it. Like, I think a lot of it just has to do with ourselves and how we allow society to dictate who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
I was a goth kid when I was in my late teens and early 20s. And so, you know, hollowed out eyes, and I would paint my face like pasty white and I, you know, there were plenty of times when people just couldn't tell what whether I was a boy or a girl. And so it's been a long time that I've kind of been this way. And I just don't care.
Yeah. And I think that's, you know, and that kind of is a general concept behind this unqualified thing, because it's more about internally validating yourself for what you want to pursue rather than seeking that external validation. We've gone into that conversation in much deeper ways in other conversations, but I think that's applicable to this concept in a general way as well, is when you finally get to a point where you're like, this is what I want to do, what I want to wear, how I want to present myself, and you've decided that and you're good with that, you rely so much less on what are they going to think when I get there about my job or what I'm wearing or this or that. Like, I think this concept of being qualified to do what you're doing, what you're wearing, is very much an internal regulator that you're setting for yourself instead of relying on this external piece.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know why this popped into my head, but it just did, and I want to throw it out. I got into this conversation with someone about HR and about office dress codes, and he said that I wouldn't be allowed to wear a skirt at his office. And I said, well, is there anything in your dress code that says that women can't wear skirts at your office? And he said, no. And I said, well, then why wouldn't I be allowed to wear a skirt? Because you can't say, well, women can wear skirts, but men can't. You can't say that.
Yeah.
You know, so
because why?
Yeah. I mean, you could say no one's allowed to wear skirts. I mean, I get it. I don't know. But, you know, you can't tell me that I can't wear a skirt if someone else in the office is allowed to wear a skirt, or I can't.
I mean, because then we're flipping it back the other way. I mean, there were entire marches and protests about women wearing pants.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So totally. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? Who cares?
Yeah.
I'm convinced that a lot of guys who don't like seeing me in a dress because I look better than their wives, or because they're a little freaked out that maybe they got a little excited, and that might bother them.
Yeah. And I think it also is like, we've been very trained to have this good and bad container. We don't have an indifferent container. Like, everything is either good or bad. And I hate that. And very much in my coaching, it's like, can we stop labeling? Like, it's not a good experience or a bad experience. It was an experience. And let's talk about what happened after that. Right. And so I think the ability to place something in that indifferent category is not intrinsically built into a lot of people, because that conversation was never had. It's either girls or boys, it's either good or bad, male or female, right? And that becomes really challenging. And so, like, the small ways that I work on that with, like, my own girls, we were at Walmart getting groceries, and then we saw Minecraft shirts. We were like, look, cool, Minecraft shirts, because everybody shops at Walmart. This is how cool we are. And, the response initially was, well, this is the boys section. I was like, do you like the shirt? They're like, yeah, but it's the boys section. I'm like, I don't care. And so we actually took the shirt over to the girls' shirts and we held them up and we were like, what's different? They both have two arms, they both have a body, like they look the same, they do the same. This one has sparkles, this one doesn't. And kind of comparing them. And it was like really actively making them think around, it doesn't say boy on it, like it just is in a section where there's more green and blue than there is pink and purple.
Right.
And really forcing them to think about, what is it? Why are you categorizing this way? Why isn't it just a shirt? Why is it a boy's shirt? What makes it a girl's shirt or a boy's shirt? And how can we remove those labels and say it's a shirt? And really taking them through that process. And I think that's not a process. My parents definitely didn't. But how often was this a conversation that was had, or were we more likely to throw things into the buckets that made sense and then we felt comfortable, everything fit in a bucket, good, bad boy, girl, instead of being able to say it's just a shirt or it's just a dress? Or
exactly. Well, and it's weird because the cuts, especially in kids' clothes, the cuts are all the same.
Yeah.
It's not like there's any difference, and a lot of that has to do with the manufacturers. They don't want to change anything. All they're doing is printing unicorns and sparkles on one shirt that's on pink, and Minecraft stuff on blue. And it's like, oh, okay, here's the boy stuff, and here's the unicorns, right? Here's the girl stuff. So I don't understand it at all. But of course I'm in a dress right now. So
but I'm in a t-shirt. I'm in like a non-fitted, t-shirt.
Right, exactly.
So
exactly.
I think that's why is it okay for me to wear a men's shirt? Because it's not fitted, and you it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. So I know you can't really see, right? But I don't know. It's why is that why is this any different than me wearing a sleeveless t-shirt? So it goes long, right? And it covers and it goes down to the top of my knees. I don't know.
I think it's the compartments. We've all compartmentalized things, and if things don't fit into the compartment that we've told that they're supposed to fit in, then we panic because we have no compartment for that to go in. Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I think that's the same conversation around what we're qualified and not qualified to do. Because if you come up and you're like, I'm a designer, and someone says, well, you don't fit into my bucket because you don't have these 10 things, then they're unqualifying you and you're looking to pursue it. And so, it's part of that bigger conversation around people have created filters and buckets for how things are supposed to work, and we're challenging that. It's freaking people out.
Exactly. Yep, it's true.
So, okay, so how can people find you, order from you, follow you, look like you?
No one's ever going to look like me. Because as soon as you do, I'm going to change my look because I don't want anyone looking like me. You can find me on LinkedIn, which is my primary social media. It's just RobRoy Chalmers. And then my website is robroysw.com. And it's constantly being updated. And hopefully, I want to change the design of it a little bit and clean it up a little bit. And you can, if you Google me, there's a ton of stuff about me out there. I've been in the creative world for a long time. And I welcome anyone to come to me with any sort of custom project that they're looking to do. I will be at the Gorge on Labor Day weekend. I encourage you to go and buy something. There's a couple people in the feed here who said that they were going to buy something who haven't, Andrew.
I'm going to hunt you down. Did Jenny buy something?
What's that?
Did Jennifer Brick buy something yet?
Yes, she did. Actually,
Oh, good.
she encouraged me to do a hoodie dress. So I'm making her a hoodie dress.
Ooh.
And it's going to have side seam pockets, and it's going to come down to
Pockets?
kind of like mid thigh. So
I'm also gonna need that. So
a hoodie dress. Yeah.
with pockets.
Yeah, with pockets, side seam pockets. Yeah, it'll be super fun.
I love pockets.
Everyone loves pockets.
I love anything with pockets. It's just my,
okay. All right.
jam.
So
yeah, and you're on TikTok because I found you there.
I'm on TikTok, but I don't really do anything there. You know, I love LinkedIn because I get to talk a lot. Yeah. Obvious, I love to talk. So yeah.
Andrew asked if it's a duality hoodie dress.
Yes, it is a duality hoodie dress.
Oh my
gosh. It's black and white. Yeah.
So excited about that. With pockets. That's the very important part.
Totally.
Well, I love this conversation. Again, like anybody who's been watching these conversations as we go, every time we have one of these conversations, I'm always like, we've already talked about being unqualified, but then it takes on a whole nother layer, goes down a whole other trail, and there's so many different pieces of it. And so thank you for coming on and talking with me about like your piece and your understanding of qualified versus unqualified. We went down some fun trails with that, which is super. And I don't know, I'm super excited about all the things that you're going to be designing and doing and creating and things.
Thank you. Thank you. I am too.
Yeah. Well, y'all go follow RobRoy. If you've missed previous episodes of this, you can find them on my YouTube channel. LinkedIn is my jam. I've recently been kind of expanding into Instagram and TikTok. TikTok like sucks me in. It's straight up built for people with ADHD. So I just scroll and 7 hours later, I'm like, what am I doing with my life right now? So, but I'm there too. So find me, find him, and we're going to change the world together. Yeah?
Yes, we are. We are.
All right, y'all. I will see you next time.